Hi to all, this is my presentation about the topic JavaScript events. Okay, let's start. What is JavaScript events? Today, the most of the web apps somehow interact with the user or dynamically change their content depending on the information they receive from the server. So what's the event? The event is actions that take place in the programmable system that the system tells you about, that you can react to them somehow if necessary. For example, if a user clicks on a button on a web page, you can respond by displaying an information window. In web, events are started inside the browser window and as a rule are attached to a specific element that is in it. This can be a single element, a set of elements, an HTML document loaded on the current tab, or the whole browser window. There are many different events that can happen, such as mouse events, for example click, context menu, mouse over, mouse out, etc. Form events such as focus, submit, keyboard events such as key down, key up, document events, CSS events, and many others. Full list of JavaScript events you can see and their description you can see on the website developer.mozilla.org in the section of event. What about event handlers? To react on the event, we can assign a handler, a function that runs in case of an event. There are several ways to assign a handler. A handler can be set in HTML with an attribute named onEvent, but an HTML attribute is not a convenient place to write a lot of code, so we'd better create a JavaScript function and call it there. You can bind the function created in the script and point to it in event attribute of the element in HTML. Also, we can assign a handler using a DOM property on plus event. For example, element on click. The handler is assigned using an HTML attribute, then the browser reads it, creates a new function from the attribute content and writes it to the DOM property. So this way it actually is the same as the previous one. The fundamental problem of the aforementioned ways to assign handlers, we can't assign multiple handlers to one event. Web standard developers understood that long ago and suggested another way to managing handlers using special method add event listener and remove event listener. They are free of such a problem. This is a syntax to add the handler, where event is event name, handler, the handler function, options, an additional option of object with properties of adding the handler. To remove a handler, we should pass exactly the same function as was assigned. Please note, if you don't store the function in the variable, then we can remove it. There is no way to read back handlers assigned by event listener. Event object. Now, the event handler function are passed an argument, the event object. This object holds additional information about the event. For example, if we want to know which mouse button was pressed, we can look at the event object button property. The information stored in an event object differs per type of event. Prevent defaults. Many events automatically trigger browser action. For example, clicking on a link initiates a new URL. Clicking on the send button in the form sends it to the server. Double-click on the text initiates its selection. If we process the event in JavaScript, we often do not need such a browser action. Fortunately, it can be cancelled. There are two ways to cancel the browser activations. The main way is to use the object of the event. There is a built-in method of event prevent default to cancel a browser action. The handler is assigned via an event handler, not via an event listener. You can simply return false from the handler. Bubbling and caption. When an event is initiated by an element that has parental element, modern browsers perform two different phases, the capture phase and the bubbling phase. In the capture phase, the following occurs. The browser checks whether the most external element, HTML as rule, has the event handler registered on it at the capture stage and launches it if so. It then moves to the next element inside HTML and does the same with the next and so on until it reached the element where the event occurred. The exact opposite is happening in the bubbling phase. The browser checks whether the item of which the event actually occurred has an event handler registered on it in the bubbling phase and launches it if so. It then moves to the next direct parent element and does the same in the next and so on until it reaches the HTML element. In modern browsers, all event handlers are registered in the bubbling phase by default. Stop propagation. The standard event object has a function called stop propagation, which when called in the object event handler make the handler run, but the event does not pop up along the chain, so no other handlers will be started. So, summary. Event handlers make it possible to detect and react to events happening in our web page. The add event listener method is used to register such a handler. Each event has type, kdown, focus, and so on, that identifies it. Most events are called on a specific DOM element and then propagate to that element's ancestors, allowing handlers associated with those elements and handle them. When an event handler is called, it is passed an event object with additional information about the event. This object also has method that allows us to stop further propagation, and prevent the browser's default handling of the event, prevent default. Pressing a key fires kdown and kup events. Pressing a mouse button fires mouse down, mouse up, and click events. Moving the mouse fires mouse move events. Touch screen interaction will result in touch start, touch move, and touch end events. Scrolling can be detected with the scroll events, and focus changes can be detected with the focus of the and blur events. When the document finishes loading, a load event fires on the window. That's all. Thank you.